All right, it's Wednesday, September 16th, 2020, and we're going to start our Sangerville Board of Selectmen's meeting, and it's 5:10. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2A, September 2nd, 2020 Select Board meetings not finished. And B, September 10, 2020 site visit and possible town hall location workshop minutes.
Just B.
Just B.
So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of B, September 10th, 2020.
All in favor? Three of us are in favor. Item 3, treasurer's warrants, payroll 71 and 73, accounts payable 70, 72, 74.
Make a motion to approve A and B is read.
Second.
All in favor? We all three are in favor. Open session, there's no one here. Old business, cemetery ordinance.
I just wanted to update you. I started looking at what can be in the warrant article, what can be in an ordinance. I think we might just want a really simple ordinance that gives you guys the powers to set all the policy and the amounts and
Right.
go from there.
Yep.
Because the other thing is to put 2 or 3 warrant articles on. And it might just be easier. I'll do it both ways and we can decide.
Yeah.
And I'll let them.
But that will provide any future board the flexibility they need to adapt without
Right.
waiting for another year, if something comes up.
Well, the only we really need to vote on anyway, and we're gonna have to regardless, is the pay, is the cost of it, right?
You have to, you can put that in an ordinance that you can set.
Yeah, I don't wanna do that.
No,
I want that as a
not,
priority.
you mean the
You
cost
want-
of
you
the,
want-
yeah, because that could
Yeah.
change.
Right.
So we don't
Well-
want that in an ordinance.
I was gonna put in the ordinance that you have the authority
Yeah.
to, that the town has authorized its select board to set
Set the
the.
price.
Yeah,
Set the price.
that's right. Yes.
Yep, you can do that.
Yeah, that makes, then you could adapt to the times. If 10 years from now you wanna raise the price, you can do it without having a town meeting.
Right. And I wanted the ordinance simple enough so that you don't have to go in and change it every 10 years, because you.
Right.
Right.
Because something's changed and, we're just giving the board the authority. We'll give the superintendent of cemeteries.
Right, but all of that, right now, all you're doing now is just asking for that, to set that to a warrant article. Right?
What, all you're asking for right now is you have gives you the ability to sell the lots.
Correct.
And that the money goes into our perpetual
Correct.
trust. So.
But are you saying we don't currently have the authority to make policy regarding the cemetery?
Most of it you do, but you don't have apparently the authority to set the price on how much
Correct,
it
well, I
is.
guess what I'm trying to say is, if you do everything to do with cemeteries in a policy, and we continue doing the warrant article the way we're doing it, we're okay. We don't need an ordinance.
Well, you'd still have to put in another article to set the price. If you wanna change the price each year.
Right.
The other piece that is mandatory is how much you're putting into perpetual care.
The proportions.
I didn't understand that all funds go into a permanent, for permanent care, which means I think we might actually be able to spend those funds instead of putting them in perpetual care. But I don't know if you want to, because.
Well, it's been confusing regarding perpetual care because we've been told that, the previous town manager told us we couldn't spend any of that. We could only spend its earnings or
That's true.
interest or
Perpetual
dividends,
care.
right? But no one could tell us what the basis was. What, if any, earnings were there?
Right.
So currently, we're in a place where we have a bucket of money that we can't access for anything.
I have a spreadsheet that I'll show you that is close as I can figure
Okay.
out.
From the beginning?
No,
Oh,
no, I went back, I don't know.
Cause that's the only thing is, I mean, a lot of years, we weren't getting any money off our money.
Well, and almost
There's nothing
all
to
year,
spend.
we've never invested money until recently, and we didn't specifically target the perpetual care money when we did invest it. Now, there really isn't even any investment available,
nope.
so
Don't go over that.
we're not gonna have any earnings.
Well, then we was told that we did use it once, a while ago, we used it all. Well, I don't know how we used it if we never, there was nothing to use if you didn't, we weren't.
If we used it, we did it improperly because nobody knew what the gain was, right?
That's, yes, I agree.
So hopefully we didn't use it, and if we did, we did it improperly.
There was a time where you were taking money out of that every
Correct,
year.
but we weren't investing it.
No.
It doesn't
But
appear to
was-
ever have been invested, so there were never any gains?
But that may have
So-
been, there may be a lapse here in time, so before, the rules may have been you could do that. We don't know when the current rule started.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's another variable, but,
I mean, currently, that's the rule,
honestly, I don't even know that the current rule is, what we were told is right, I mean,
100%. I don't think
It appears to be, I mean, that's the way I
And
understand
who
it.
sets that rule?
State.
The state, okay.
State law.
But
Oh,
we're
okay.
the ones that says we're putting all of our money in it.
Ah, okay,
Right,
ah, okay,
right.
I gotcha.
We only have to put 30%,
Right.
but I don't know if there's any benefit to not putting all of it, because you don't sell enough to get a,
well,
big
one benefit
sum
would be is
towards
you
your-
could use it.
Right,
I
right,
mean,
Right,
I've
you're
had
getting
people
money for
approach
something You
me,
can never touch.
right.
I've had people approach me that are really passionate about the perpetual care fund because they think it's really important, and I agree with them. But if they understood that once you put the money in, you couldn't actually get it out.
Especially if it's not making any money right now, it's the basis,
and
it
in-
is the basis.
In the case of Sangerville, it's never been invested, so it never did make any money.
Right.
And even
No,
if,
So we
as a
can't
board,
touch it. We
can't do
touch
anything
it.
with it.
There's no value in selling the lots,
Right,
No, you might as well give them away.
100%.
Because you can't, the way we're doing it, you can't use the proceeds for anything.
That's right.
and in perpetual care, you.
I'm not actually
people-
suggesting we give
yeah,
away, but.
right, right.
people
Me neither, but I
give-
mean, as far as the
Yeah,
town
yeah.
goes, there's no,
No, we've got ourselves in a box.
our town's
we
so
can- we
small,
don't-
and the amount that we're selling, there's no value
Right.
for the town to deal with this.
Right.
Well, it has accumulated quite, what's the balance in that account? It was over 30 grand, wasn't it?
It's over 70.
Alright.
Oh, there you
And,
go.
and no basis that
Right.
we know of,
Correct,
and never have been invested.
correct.
We can't even use it to fix the road down there.
Nope.
Next time I'll bring my spreadsheet. I was working on it while we were all home with COVID, just to what I know we can spend in terms of, like, I took all of Camden's,
Okay,
you know, and
Oh, wow.
nickels and dimes.
and this is interest, and so,
Yeah.
I know we can spend this amount. The rest of it, I'm not so sure.
well, it might be interesting to research what remedy is available to us, either through
You
ordinance or
can't,
something.
I don't see how you can continually make this pot grow
Right.
and never get anything out of it.
That's what, I believe there's gotta be a remedy. A town can't be in a position where they have $70,000 that they cannot touch.
Now, I bet we can't spend it,
That's fine.
but why couldn't you have you wanna redo the road down there, a warrant article that
Correct.
we're gonna take $20,000
Out
out
of perpetual
of
care.
perpetual care to go towards
Am I
something
right?
within the cemetery.
Right, right.
But right now, the way we've been told, you can't do
No,
that,
we're
which
not. It's
just
just gonna keep
doesn't
growing.
make any sense to any of us, so we need to research it, but back to the warrant.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we want to, basically, we're asking for the very least that is required. Is that fair to say?
Right, but what I'm saying is we don't need an ordinance, because we already have a warrant article that says, I allow the selectmen to sell the town lots, and the money goes into perpetual care.
So we
So if you
just
don't
add
want
to, we allow the selectmen to set the price, sell the lot.
Well, we do now, it's already there. We put the price in it,
No,
right?
Mm-mm.
But I mean-
No.
It's not on there, the price?
no.
We just give them the authority,
Yeah.
Just set
but
the
isn't
price.
that, if you've given them the authority to sell and you didn't name the price, isn't
Are you
it
giving us the
reasonable to
price,
conclude
authority
you?
to sell it?
Works for me, but I don't know if it works for anybody else.
Why wouldn't it? Is the question.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm trying to imagine how anyone could object.
yeah.
Hey, you sold a lot, Yeah, you gave us permission to. Yeah, but we never told you the price.
Well, I mean, the price stays of whatever it was the last time it was set, and that was in 2012. And it was taken to it was a special town meeting then, but it was, I found the
But
warrant.
it's the same deal, you could do that every year.
You
could
could.
say, you could just say, you give the authority to the selectmen to sell the lots for whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, and I don't have, that's fine, that's kinda like the interest that we charge on back taxes. Every year, the town votes to set what that rate's gonna be. So you could just throw the cemetery lots in there just like that, every year they approve that, and grant the
And
permission.
then everything you wanna do as far as it,
Is
leave it in the
policy.
policy and you do whatever you wanna do whenever you wanna do that.
Okay.
Doesn't even have to, I mean, yeah,
Right,
but whatever we need to change, we can just change it.
Yep.
But I'll tell you, what I'm really concerned is if you write it, if you try to do that through an article to grant us permission to do that and set the price, I can see where,
Oh, okay,
I'm giving
I
you
see
the-
where,
I'm
I see
giving
where
you
you're going.
you're gonna set
Yeah,
the
yeah,
price
you're gonna
forever.
set
and
the price,
I
yeah.
can just see where that
Yeah,
may
yeah,
not go over very well.
Revisiting it every year is fine. We have a lot of things we revisit every year,
every year.
so.
Doesn't bother me, I was gonna make it all policy anyway, I mean,
Sure.
and setting the fees for having a deed, you know, I've been told I can't do that without, legislative approval.
What's that?
You
I'm
mean
going
as
to
far
charge
as
people $25.
to register it with Registry of Deeds? That's,
Don't word it that way. I'm gonna charge you $825 for all,
That's what I said.
period.
Correct.
The auditor said,
I'm
yeah.
gonna spend $25
But-
out
And
of
we
the.
include in that,
It's all
this
included in it.
service,
Yeah,
Right.
and that's for our benefit, because it keeps
Part of our
us more
policy
organized.
is as we sell when we sell a lot, it will be recorded through the registry of deeds.
and I mean, why couldn't that even be on the warrant, you know, with italicize it on the bottom, $25 of this amount is for Registry of Deeds.
do that.
You know, full disclosure.
Good.
Okay, I'm still working, but those.
Yeah, I can see where, because the revenue that comes from the lots is specifically, it's
Has to
not
go.
like town revenue.
Yeah,
Well, you
So we're pulling from that.
yeah.
It may be-
Yeah.
And
You just have to
all,
budget it.
and all
That's,
cemetery
that we can
funds-
do,
All cemetery funds have to go towards cemeteries,
right,
so.
Yeah.
that's the
It's
difference.
the,
Yeah,
So you're taking a piece of that fund and you're using it for administrative purposes.
yeah.
$800 plus administrative costs, and then you budget an extra 25, we sell 10 a year, budget an extra $250 for administrative costs for recording.
Yeah, cemetery administrative costs, that's part of your budget every year. And if you're off a little, next year
Yeah,
you're a little back, you know, Dale's probably right, 10?
Yeah,
In the same way when you're setting what your approval is, because we don't know what it's 25 now, but you don't know where it's gonna go.
that's true.
So I'm
That's
selling the lot for this plus administrative costs.
yeah, well, it's 21, and I add the extra 4 in for Warner's time to
Yep, yeah,
schlep it down
But
there.
there you go, you know what I mean, but you
Yeah.
don't know, next year it might be 22.
right.
So if you just word it that way, 800 plus, as
Plus
far as the warrant
administrative
article,
fees.
plus administrative, and then do the, like 10 a year or whatever number, budgetary wise, then
That's a good
everything
way
should
to-
be aligned. Then the $800 comes in, goes to the cemetery,
Yep, yep,
the administrative goes back into,
it's
still goes into
budgeted.
general, but it's part of the budgetary anyway.
If you
Yep.
don't use
Be a
it,
gain.
we just roll it back out.
Yep,
Yep,
that's great, that's good,
keeping it simple.
yes.
Okay,
Okay.
are we,
Yes.
okay, on a B, proposal for the layout of the town office.
Okay, we had our workshop on the 10th,
Mhm.
and you asked me to look for some architects or somebody.
Yeah, somebody to help us with,
Do some plans.
Yep.
So I found, well, first of all, I called Carpenter and Associates, who did the stuff for here, and said, would you put together a proposal for me? So they're going to. But then I went looking for other architects, other locals, and I found Waite Drafting and Design out of Charleston. They do, it's a guy working out of his house, but he has worked in the building industry and done a whole bunch of different things, got into drafting. So for a price of On the website it was $600, conceptual standard set. The plan set is intended to give your contractor something to estimate from and possibly get a building permit from. This plan will include fully dimensional floor plans, elevations, sections if necessary, as well as at least one 3D perspective. Conceptual premium set would be $800. These have things like electrical layouts in it.
Yeah, but I don't think we care about that part, right? I mean, we want more of a,
Well,
These plans-
we may, but we were probably thinking, outside,
Outside.
from 200 feet in the air kind of thing. Lay of the land, landscape, what the
we
building
start
would
like a
look like.
topographical, zoom in, here it
Yeah.
is, walk around, this is what the water.
Where the parking lot would be,
It's
so
not really
people
a
can see.
architect really, and actually it was funny because I just
He
went
may be
on.
able to do this.
He sounds like he might.
Maybe. I
What's the name of it
looked on,
again?
It's called
Wait.
Drafting and Design.
Come on. WAITTE.
E. Yep, with the E.
Okay.
I've also contacted a bunch of other local, Bangor local places. None of them have gotten back to me. I've actually talked to Mr. Wade.
You did talk to him?
Yeah, and I think he's going to be much cheaper than any of the others.
This is
but-
kinda local.
and kind of like willing to work with us, so I started telling him about the project and how we might have a library, we might not. And he's like, well, we could do something like, we could make the big room downstairs and have all the shelves all to the side, so you could still use the room for what we need to use it for. Or you could have movable stacks, so that the minute you want a big meeting, you slide them to.
Right, so he was
just
brainstorming with you.
Right,
Yeah.
And
Right.
for willing to come and look at the site and look at,
Oh, that'd be good.
I like it.
Yeah.
here, and so that's where I'm leaning. On the other hand, if you go with carpenters, you could get them to do a detailed, this is what it's gonna cost you to do the old way, this is what it's gonna cost you to do the new way, it's gonna cost you more money to get something like that.
I think all we need as far as to get a costing thing, once you get a decent floor plan, period, Lander's gonna be able to give you a better price, a real price.
Yeah,
I don't think we need to spend money on architectural drawings for him to do that.
the other
He
thing
just
is, we're
needs
gonna
a
have to
better-
bid this.
Oh, I know.
I'm,
But
I'm thinking somebody like Lander could probably
he'd probably come in closer.
do it cheaper, but we're gonna have to bid all
That's a good point.
this, and I don't know,
No, you have to price shop, actually, it's not a bid.
well, yes.
Okay, so make sure.
Yeah, no, we shop it, and once we're confident that, then we're gonna have kind of a range, it would be tight range, I hope, that we present and say, does the town wanna do this?
Yeah.
And here's what we think it's reasonably expected to spend to do this. But at the same time, we wanna be able to say, and this is what it will look like.
Yeah.
I'd like to have somebody that is, I seriously, and I don't have time to do it, but type it into your phone and your apps. There's all kinds of apps out there now that do exactly what we wanna do.
Really?
Yes. So
That's
you
probably what
can,
he's doing.
well, I bet it is.
Well,
but-
he's using AutoCAD.
Yeah.
Well, no,
but
this is not even a
with-
CAD. These
Yeah.
will start right out with you take right off the top of
Take
map.
your piece
and
of
you can just
property
Zoom in
and you-
and this is where you're at. Get rid of trees, add trees, change the landscape,
Oh, I don't know.
throw a building in
I don't know
and
if you can do
manipulate
any-
it and,
I don't know if you can do any of that, I'll call him.
but that's what I would like to see
I
is
know.
something like that.
A sample would be great, if he has a website,
Exactly.
Go on to his website.
yeah, and
Right.
I've got a feeling if we look at some of his stuff, we're gonna know right away whether,
Does he have a website? Oh, okay. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Alright.
So, yeah,
alright, yeah,
The
we'll,
amount of-
previous jobs would be good to
yeah,
see.
Yeah.
awesome.
So you can we can look at that.
It sounds like he's ready to roll too, if you,
Yeah, he'd come out and.
yeah, good,
That'd be good.
Very good.
Well, this is municipal, there's a lot of waiting.
Yeah,
hurry up and wait.
A lot of, I'll call you back.
Yeah.
So the next thing I dealt with was looking at figuring out how to get some grant funding. I told you that there was money available between Land and Water Conservation Fund. This was sent to me by the state. It says the Land and Water Conservation Fund for 2020-21 grant cycle is open and accepting applications for acquiring public land, developing recreation facilities, and renovation of existing outdoor recreation facilities from eligible applicants. Qualified applicants must request a pre-approval site inspection by October 31st, 11:59 p.m. If the proposed project is approved for application, the project sponsor will be encouraged to submit a complete application packet by the end of May 21. The grant application and support documents are posted online. I've only barely started looking at them, but I did go sign us up for a site visit.
Oh.
And I should hear within the week, they said. If I don't, make sure I call them. The maximum grant award for this round will be $500,000. There's currently no minimum award level, but applicants considering a request of $20,000 or less should discuss their project ideas with the grant manager before applying. The land was established to assist federal, state, and local governments to acquire and develop public outdoor recreational facilities. It's administered at the federal level by the National Park Service and at the state level by the Bureau of Parks and Lands. And the grants can provide up to 50% of the allowable costs for approved acquisition or development. And so I went and Doug Beck is the person in charge in Maine. And let's see.
DECK,
Yep.
Doug Beck.
Doug Beck. And I sent a brief project description. At the town park, we would like to move and update the boat launch, add a picnic area to the beach, add a walking trail, update the playground, and move the road access from the middle of the park to the edge to improve safety and traffic flow. And then I had to give an estimated cost. So I put between $100,000 and $150,000. I don't have a clue.
Sounds good.
I would, if I'm picking a number, I put 150 to 2, so
Yeah.
you're
So then
gonna.
I said we would be requesting 75 because you get half of your
Right.
Yeah.
project. And then it was just my basic information,
The
so.
other thing too is by the sounds of this, once you get these people involved, they may have other ideas for other things we could do down there that might make it even better.
Like, did you think of this?
Your
Did you
gentleman
think of
might be
that?
able to help us with that as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mr. White.
yeah, because some of
You may
those,
have some of that visual stuff. that you
Yep.
need.
Right, like, oh,
Well,
you want,
we use Google Earth just to help us, but he may use it as a tool.
Right.
right.
and some of those firms, one of them I looked at did a plan for Dover. A lot like what you're talking about, community
Yeah.
development plan. I'm guessing it cost them a pretty penny, but I don't know. I'll keep.
Have you
asking
reached
them
out to them too to see if there's anything there for what we're trying to do?
to
Scatter those.
I reached out to John Shea, who's the new director. He's on it. I'll be talking to him next week. He said he wasn't completely totally familiar, but Georgia, I don't know what her last name is, who's been there forever, would be helping him. And so he's gonna look not only for grants to improve that site, but grants if you were to do a historical building.
Oh.
But boy, if we could get the back part of the property going with some help, really help put the whole package together.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to do, or want to do, a bunch of those things
I would also, I'd
regardless.
reach out to Efficiency Maine. I
Uh-huh.
mean, if you're gonna build something like this, see what's available for heating,
Yeah.
lighting, all of that stuff. There might be
Lighting.
some stuff available,
All efficiency, okay.
so that may help us as well. I know there's stuff right now as far as heat pumps and
Oh,
hot water and LEDs and I don't know whatever else is available, but,
Yeah, lighting is a big one
Yeah.
that they do.
but that may be, and obviously we're gonna get into all that, so that might be something too.
So I was pursuing what we,
Well, that's good.
very good.
And if you hit, my thought is, if Riley runs into a potential roadblock and you feel like, gee, if I had a meeting, if we could advance the ball, don't be
Yeah.
shy.
Yep.
Because we really wanna try to get this ready for next
Yeah,
town
don't
meeting.
wait, it, like,
Push
Well-
us.
Push us, exactly.
Yeah,
so, I'm gonna talk to this Wake guy, if he can do what he sounds like you want, like a picture of the site and what the actual,
Yep,
if he can do that, I'm gonna give him the go-ahead because we're in a price range where I'm
Yeah,
sure.
allowed to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, in
Good.
fact, if we'll all see if we can find some samples, or if you come up with something, you can here's where you can look at it,
Yep.
that would be great, and then green light it.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Next one.
Okay, are we done with this for now? B? All right, on to excise tax exemption for veterans.
Okay, I told you the issue we were having with our ordinance, and I contacted MMA and said, is there anything we can do about this? But basically what we have is a cookie cutter of what the state says. Towns may have an ordinance that says this, and that's what we did. Our ordinance says
Yep.
this. So when you look at it, you keep, a resident, in terms of military, the meaning is
Move.
moot. Really, the only thing we could do would be to repeal it,
The ordinance.
the ordinance, if you thought that it was being abused and that we didn't want it.
Or we could
Well,
amend
give us an
it.
idea of what this,
We can't amend it,
it's either all
the
of it.
state gave us
Oh, okay.
permission to pass this
That.
ordinance.
Ah,
Okay.
and that's what we
Basically,
passed.
And that's what we passed, and that's what
Well,
power we have.
I mean,
What's the cost of this? How about, just for, and maybe it doesn't matter, but could you give us an idea for next meeting, what this is actually cost the town? I guess that's really,
I can imagine a scenario where if we felt like it had even the potential for abuse, you wouldn't have to necessarily say, but you might say, we feel, at least one or more of us feel it's being abused, but you don't even have to really go there. Say, under its current condition, when this was passed, no one anticipated it could be used this way,
this is what it's being used for.
here's what could happen, and actually is happening. So, your select board recommends that you
Repeal it.
repeal it, and then let them vote.
I'll see what it.
I really like that idea,
Yeah.
because I can tell you, I mean, we put this forward.
Right.
This is not being used for what I thought,
Nope.
or my opinion of what I thought we were doing.
Correct, I agree with you.
And so I guess if I would've known then what I know now, I personally wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
definitely would.
And we've
feel
all
okay.
run into things that were done years and years ago that we would not have done today.
Yep,
So this is our chance to at least set the record straight that
yep,
if indeed we all feel that way.
yep.
uh,
It's not, I don't feel it's the true intent of what it was.
Right,
What we thought it was
exactly.
gonna be used, being used for.
I think we all thought that you had to be deployed in order to utilize this. And we thought that was fair because you're serving
Yeah.
your country overseas and you can't even drive your vehicle and,
Right.
but that turns out that's not.
I honestly think if you go back to that tape, one of us said it exactly what you said.
Yeah, like, is
I
this
remember
what
that.
this means?
I remember
Same
when you just
here.
said that.
Same here, because that's the way I
Things you gotta pay to
understood it.
register your vehicle, if you're deployed, you can't even drive it.
Right, right.
And we all said, okay, well, that makes
Yeah,
total
that
sense.
makes sense.
We support this
That's a
idea.
good point, Dale.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I bet there
Listen
won't
to
be
the
much
tape.
pushback,
yeah, no.
Okay.
alright?
Well, if there is, honestly, if there is, I really don't care.
No, that we've done
Right,
it.
right, right.
Because, I mean, just in good conscience, we put
Right.
it forward in one way, that's not what it's used for. If the town still wants to have
And
it, then that's
they're
what they
okay with
decided
it,
to
but
do.
at least,
But at least we're being upfront and honest that, hey, this is what we thought we were doing, but this really isn't what's happening.
and we might be taking advantage of it.
Correct. And let them decide after.
Yeah,
So can we skip over D?
Yeah, we'll table that for a minute. D is the fire department ordinance and action plan. We're gonna move ahead to item 6, as long as you guys don't object.
Sure.
New business, GA or general assistance ordinance.
You have to pass it every year. I remember this year, but I forgot that you have to have a hearing.
Okay.
It has to-
Beforehand.
It has to be posted 7 days prior to it, so we can't do it tonight. But I'm proposing that we have a meeting September 30th.
Okay.
And I will put the hearing notice up. One, because we need to pass this ordinance in September. 2, because the next week I will be on vacation and won't be able to hold our regularly scheduled meeting. So it's 2 weeks till the 30th, and then,
yeah,
So I just recommend we held the selectmen's meeting at 5 and the hearing at 5:01.
yeah.
Yeah,
We've done in the
That's
past,
what we've done
open up
before.
to the selectmen's
Yep.
meeting.
I've looked at it, the only thing that's changing is the maximum limits on the appendices. Not even like last year where a couple of definitions were changing. Nothing major is changing, but we do have to approve it, and I have to send it to the state, so.
Okay.
If we can
So we're meeting September 30th
At 5.
at 5.
Typically, nobody else shows up for that, so I just
Right.
don't
No.
schedule that for.
Just get it done.
No, I mean, right. There really
We
isn't
haven't voted
anything
on
to,
it.
I don't even know what they could,
I think last year was open.
I think
vote
it's
minute.
informational. I mean, I
Yeah.
think it's, if somebody had a question about the
Yeah.
the general assistance, you'd have
Yeah.
to stand here and answer it. That's what it's for.
but the only thing that changes is your maximum limits, and that's
Right.
set.
Okay.
The state puts out the numbers and we just say, oh, that looks good, and we'll
Right.
approve it, so. That's what I wanted to do for that.
All right, on to item 7, town manager's report, CD interest rates.
Well, our CD is coming due in January, and as everybody knows, CD interest rates have
0.
tanked. I called Main Highlands, and right now their 3-year is at 1.25%. I looked at a couple of other banks, Bangor Savings, Camden, Bangor Savings was a lot lower. Camden was higher, but I happened to be talking to Camden yesterday, and for something else, and their rates dropped yesterday.
Yep.
So they're now down to absolutely nothing.
1.25 is actually a pretty good rate.
Yeah, if it's still available, come.
Right, when are we due?
January.
January.
Oh, okay,
That's-
yeah, so that's actually a lot could happen between now and January.
Yes,
Could
I
go
was
way up.
kind of,
Well, it won't go way down because we're already way down, but 1.25 could disappear.
Camden has something called a CD ladder. It's a program where you open, let's say we take 700,000 and you split it into 10 CDs, and the first one's at 6 months, the next one's 9, 12, and then as each one matures, you up it
Correct.
to the top, which would be, in this case, many years, and then it figures out for you how much extra interest you earn. I don't know if it's something that we gotta think about or not.
Once we know the rates, we could make a,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, you don't want to tie it up forever, and it looks to me like come the end of the term, say it was a 5-year term, so all you have is the money that was in the 6-month account, and the rest is still tied up because you,
Well, the idea is that, let's assume if you're doing it 6 months, so every 6 months you have free money coming due, and so you might decide not to reinvest that, but it would be liquid. But with CDs, they can never penetrate your principal.
right,
So the only thing at risk is the interest. So you might the one strategy is you might as well take the largest rate you can get. And if
Lock it
for
up.
some reason you need that money, whether in our case to do a road or build a building, all you're doing is not getting the interest that you would have got had you not pulled it. So there's really no,
what else?
I'm really kinda curious too, you know what I mean, once January starts getting closer, even if the market goes down or whatever, I'm wondering what Main Highlands is. There's a
well,
lot of money invested in these, it's all coming due, so.
yeah, but it's a lot, it's driven by the interest rate market. I give you an example, I had an insurance contract, it's a guaranteed contract, now it's guaranteed by the insurance company. But the rate at the beginning of September was 2.4 for 4 years. And I poured quite a bit of money into that, because that was a very attractive rate. 4 days later, they lowered the rate to 2.1. I said, okay, well, I better get to work. 3 days later, they lowered it to 1.5. So that's how quickly this is going off a cliff. The insurance company's appetite is quickly
Yeah.
disappearing.
Yeah.
Now, probably, people just like me were pouring lots of money into this.
That's right.
So the insurance company said, okay, that's enough, we don't
That's
want
enough,
anymore.
Yeah, we're not doing that now.
Now, and in the case of the insurance company, the penalty is hugely onerous, like 8% the first year,
Whoa.
6 and 5, so there's no getting out of this thing.
Whoa.
But we're not having to deal with that
Yeah.
with the credit unions and the banks. The only thing I would do when we get nearer January is, I would love to split it up, if we can. So, but we'll see what the rates are. The credit unions are gonna be hard to beat.
Yeah.
They kind of march to their own drummer. If they want deposits,
But
They
that's
need
it, that's
money.
that's what I'm saying, I'm just curious what they're gonna do when we get to there, because
Yeah.
something was going on there, why they were offering this to begin with.
Well-
Because nobody else was offering close to this when we took this one.
it's interesting, I have a relative who's looking to buy a used tractor, and interest rates are 5.5%, 6%. So if you're a credit union and you'll do personal loans for things like that, that you're still making, and,
Oh, yeah.
you know, you're not paying any interest to the people who deposit.
No.
But we'll see. But the 10-year treasury right now is 0.6. That's a 10-year commitment from Uncle Sam. So,
Amazing.
yeah. All right. That 3 years went by quick.
It sure did. Holy mackerel.
We made some money too.
We did. We did very
It's not
well.
real money though.
That's right.
That's what we were all heard, we were all told, it's not real money.
Well, we were also told to use, you're investing this year's money.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't do that.
What about next year's money? Anyway,
You're not gonna have any money for next year, because you're investing in that.
road commissioners report.
Okay, I have a truckload of things to talk about. Brush cutting. Rick Drew is going to try to do that either the last week of September or the first week of October. We're all set up, except that he needs somebody to go out and show him from where to where. He did not bite on the Silver's Mills, oh, I'll go out there and do it. It's like, nope. This is why I said the price for this is what you get. I said, okay, fine. But so he's going to do the first 4 miles of Silver's Mills, and he's going to do 2.2 miles of Flanders. I went out and looked. I'd stopped at the 2 mile point, but there's another little section that he ought to get while he's.
The 4 on the Silver's Mills will be fine.
Yeah.
We won't have a problem. I mean, there's one piece of brush down near Harvard Lane, is it?
So,
So 4 miles of Silver Mills, and what was the other one?
2.2
2.2 of
of Flanders.
Flanders, okay.
Now, if he decides to do it the first week in October, one of you will have to go out with him and show him, because I will be going.
Okay.
So,
We see how you are.
yeah, I'm running away.
Kelly going,
Winter sand is all put up. I'm
Woohoo.
waiting for Chris to tell me how big a tarp I need to buy so that,
really friggin' big.
yeah.
I don't
I
know.
haven't seen it yet, but I saw the trucks
So,
going by.
I sent
nonstop.
pictures, and the pictures do not do that justice. I will be right on the record that that is the largest pile of sand I have ever seen in this town.
So,
And we are gonna get complaints.
And we
That
bought,
makes
just
so much
also on the record though, we purchased the exact number of yards that we bought the 2 previous years.
I just wanted to say, we are gonna get complaints or questions.
well, we bought more last year.
A little
Okay.
more.
Oh.
We actually bought more last year than
We
this
asked for
year.
an estimate on the same, the 2,250. Everybody did their estimates. We went with Steve Lawson and ordered the 2,250. Last year, we ordered 2,250, thought, that might not be quite enough, and we got another 250 yards. So we got
Oh, wow.
2,496 yards last year. This year, we got 2,253.
So we have 250 yards less this year, basically.
Yeah.
And we got way bigger pile than we've ever had.
Yes.
And we had nothing left on the slab.
So we might have been able to get away with 2,000
1,500.
with this
Really?
current
Wait.
scale.
You
Yeah.
need to see this pile.
Wow.
Really?
It's,
Well, I saw the trucks.
I can tell you that I've never ever seen an excavator up there with the pile out.
So are you saying that we got twice as much
I
sand
don't know
for the
about
same
twice,
money?
but that pile's big.
Wow.
I say,
I
well,
will
look
go
at
look
next
at
year.
Oh, yeah,
You guys
there's
go
no
look
way
and
we're
see
using.
what we need to budget for and look for next year.
Well, it also begs the question on the salt. We
Okay,
bought the same amount of salt last year
I
with half as much sand.
authorized an extra load of salt, but, salt was so much cheaper that we still haven't spent our salt budget, but we were way over our sand budget because the
Right.
price went up, but we got way more sand than we,
So we may have actually not spent any more money on sand when we actually see how much we
Right.
got.
correct.
seeing the pile, I mean, that's why you really need to go visually see it
I
right
will
now.
see it.
I mean, knowing that we got 2,500 this year and we got 2,250 this year, and see what we got in this, and we had nothing in the, now, 1,750? I mean, 2,000 is definitely doable.
Have you spoken
Wow.
to either Chris or
Wow.
Warren about the quality of the sand? Have they been able to
You
sample?
can see a lot of it right now when
Well,
you're
I
up
didn't
there.
ask them
It
about
looks
the
good.
quality,
Yeah.
but
It
I
does?
was down there and I figure if they'd
There's a
had
little bit, but it's
they'd
minimal.
had a problem, they'd have told me, cause we did a lot of talking. And I just went down to see what size tarp I needed, they're like, we have no idea, you'll have to, you'll
Wow.
have to, let
Several,
us get down
several
here.
very big
Yeah.
parts.
It's
Yeah.
not only higher than normal, it's a longer footprint, it's a wider footprint, I mean, it's just,
Massive.
it's big.
Yeah, he had an excavator halfway up the pile when I
Yep.
went.
We're at
up there
capacity.
and on the landing and was,
Maybe it'll last us until 2 years.
Oh, it's gonna last in the following, I'm quite
Well,
certain.
good. Well, that's one thing that we don't have to worry about this winter.
I really thought when I took pictures of it the day before, it was done.
It wasn't even done.
and I texted you and said, they're talking Thursday, and,
I'm like,
Wow.
so. The next thing is East Sango Road, Herrick Excavation is going to start, may have started today, I don't, doing the ditching for us. I went out with Zach and looked it all over. So that should be started. I talked to Seth today, he's gonna try to do the grading for us for next week. I've got driveway culverts, he's gonna try to look at those for me. Think I've talked him into doing the docks, but, yeah, but last year I thought I had him talked into doing the docks and that didn't happen, so I'll have to stay on the docks. In terms of the town hall's parking lot and the public works yard, Warren has told me that they're going to be working on both those to, we have a problem with
Erosion.
erosion right out here by our
Yeah.
front door, and Public Works has always had an issue of the water wants to pool right under our sand pile instead of running out and around, and so
yeah,
they're
well,
gonna,
there needs a good cleanup.
yeah, that whole area. He's going to take the junk metal that's not worth anything and move it. There was some material that he needed to move. I told him he could take a load of it over to McPeters Road if he thought he could manage it without breaking up the pavement for the four-wheeler trail, because he just doesn't really have any place to take it, but we'll see if that happens. So after all of this, I started looking at our budget to see where we're at. In total, we have about 15,000 left in our summer roads budget. Most of that is gravel. I want to get some work done, some gravel roads. I was talking with Chris and Warren because obviously they're our plowing contractor and they had some requests. So Anderson Road, they would like to get done from Silver's Mills to the culvert before it gets graded. I don't know if I'll get it before it gets graded, but I can get some gravel hauled in there. The culvert is, I think Dale, you told me is plugged. I've got John.
Very plugged.
I've got John Douglas to go down. He's gonna.
I really was, and I would really like to know what because technically speaking, that's still a stream.
Yeah.
Or what can we do in that area? Because the one thing that right now, it's a trickle. I mean, that typically coming out of them culverts, right now it's this big because the pond is so low.
Oh,
But if you drive down there and look, from that culvert, as far as you can see, up both banks, is all of these sticks from all of these beaver plugs. We just keep poking a hole and letting them go to here, and the beaver keep grabbing them from here and hauling them right back in. So, when they're there, I don't know how far they can reach out with a thing, but if there's a way to clean that area up, I would think it would help us, or at least give them a lot less material to put back in the hole.
For a while.
For a little while.
I'll see, I don't know who to ask.
I don't know how, I mean, Chummy, they all do a lot of work around waterfront or wetlands. They probably, somebody knows the rules of what we can or can't do, but.
I'll have to ask them, because, John said he couldn't get to it for a couple of days.
Yeah, but it would just be nice to, because once that hits, you're just gonna, every time we open that up, you're just taking all that sticks and you keep blowing them out a little bit further away.
Yeah,
But if we could get them cleaned back up, then that would help out a lot, I think. Or it might lessen it a little bit.
Yeah. The other two places they mentioned in terms of plowing were, there's a section of Townhouse Road, and there is the beginning section of the Jackman Corner Road that they'd like to see ditched and a little gravel.
Yeah, 'cause I know that Jackman Corner, the way that water comes down off that hill, so
It
it's nice is.
doesn't run under the ditch.
Right.
So that would be the problem. So those are the three I'm looking at. We have some money to spend. It's not exactly where I thought it was going to be, but we do have some money, so I think we can get those projects done. The real problem I'm having is getting somebody to do it. They're all crazy busy. I called Kelly Jordan, he said, I don't even have time to think. So he couldn't even help out with some of the smaller projects like the driveway culverts and stuff, so I don't know who else to ask perhaps, but. And then I got a email from the state saying that our LRAP is going to go down approximately 6.64%. And that means, that's the wrong, this is, right here, 6.64%. So last year we got $34,120. This year we're likely to get $31,829. So,
We knew these things were coming.
yeah, they finally quantified that one. And I think that's all I had on the commissioner's report.
Coal patch.
Coal patch.
Looks good.
Did that get filled? Oh, great, that was my
Yeah,
concern.
there's one more complaint on East Sangerville. Zach looked at it with me. We'll try to get something into that as well.
And the stone in our ditch.
I have not had a chance
Okay,
to
just
address it.
Curious, okay.
I did not.
Anything else? No? Well, we'll go back to old business. Item 5, fire department ordinance and action plan.
All right, last meeting, we went over the action plan, which I had given to the fire chief. I had a couple of minor changes. I don't know if we want to read the whole thing again, or just the changes, or where we want to start this discussion.
Actually, I apologize because just for people listening, originally we had no guests and now we have several guests. Most of which I believe are members of the fire department. So they're here. If any of you would like to speak, you can, but we're about to address the fire department anyway, so.
I need you all to sign in if you would, please.
So I would say, Bridie, just proceed the way you would like. If you want to just read the changes, because we've all seen the original.
Have all of you seen the original? You have the copies, but has anybody else seen
Copy of,
the action plan that was in your box? Lauren gave, since you gave it to you last.
geez, I don't know if I saw it, actually.
Okay. I think maybe the best thing for me to do then is fill my copies. Wait a minute, how many copies? A few more things. Ah.
We haven't talked about that, so I don't know if we're actually gonna vote that yet.
You're welcome. Well, you're welcome, and I don't know that if I give you, I can give you updated copies.
Is this the updated copy?
Yes.
Oh, very good.
If these are the two that I changed.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Alright. I guess I should start with, as everybody knows, we had a complaint on the fire department. There was an investigation. I dealt with any disciplinary measures, but then there were things that became obvious during the investigation as to things that we can improve on. So I wrote up an action plan, and I'll read it into the minutes right now. In response to a complaint filed by several former Sangerville firefighters, and after reviewing numerous documents and speaking to a dozen firefighters, I have decided to implement a plan of action for improving the Sangerville Municipal Fire Department. Bullet point 1, a new ordinance needs to be drafted for the running of the fire department. The current one is outdated. This will need to be approved by the select board and passed at the annual town meeting. The personnel policy will be updated to reflect the changes to the ordinance and to cover all human resource issues. And then I have the select board will work on that. We have a draft, and I don't know, I can pass those out as well. Here, you can just pass those out. This is the current draft. Okay. Second point, new SOGs need to be formalized, approved by the select board, and shared with the entire department. These will need to be strictly followed. There are firefighters employed with the department that have never had written SOGs to go by. This is for the officers, basically all of you guys. Third bullet point. The fire department call sheet needs to be revised. Each firefighter needs to put down the time he or she checked in and out. Each firefighter needs to initial his or her own hours. The officer in charge of the scene will sign each call sheet. That's for the fire department. The firemen, at the next point, the firemen will go back to being paid quarterly. All call sheets, training sheets, meeting sheets, and Sunday duty sheets will be turned in weekly. Quarterly, there will be a spreadsheet turned in for the department's payroll. And that last sentence probably can be crossed out because the previous point addresses the call sheet. Next bullet point, all officers should be able to locate the forms and paperwork the department is required to keep. The next one, the fire chief will regularly update the manager and select board on the operation of the fire department. He will do so by attending one of the 2 select board meetings every month and reporting at that time. And then the next one, coordination of HR paperwork with the town office needs to be improved. All prospective firemen will fill out their W-4s and I-9s at the town office before working any hours. All insurance issues will be reported to the town manager as soon as they arise. All personnel files will be located in the town office. Next page. The number of firemen on our roster is dangerously low, with half of the firemen having 2 years of experience or less. A plan to increase our numbers needs to be put into action. This plan also needs to outline the chain of command at fires during the day so that an experienced firefighter is in charge of all fire scenes. The persons listed after each bullet point needs to work on addressing these issues in a timely fashion. The town manager, board of selectmen, and fire chief will discuss our progress at the September 16th board meeting. So, where do we want to start? All of you have seen this, I guess, for the first time. My major concern is our numbers. You have 16 people on the roster, 5 of whom go to most calls, 5 of whom are new and go to a lot of the calls, and 5 of whom rarely show up. That leaves you 10 or 11 people to count on. All of our senior officers are out of town during the day. That concerns me. Concerns me that a junior officer might find himself in the position where they have to be incident leader at a structure fire and not have the experience to deal with it. So I'm looking for input from you guys. And
Good question for you, Brady.
Sure.
This originated on the 2nd of September. And as you just read here, we were supposed to be advancing the ball here today on the 16th.
Yeah.
But have any of you seen this before?
well, it was in your box, and
I didn't-
you came in that day and wanted to said you
She
had
gave
it.
me some magazines and stuff. Probably right over there.
Do you email these things to the chief or
No, I put it in
officers?
his box, and when Mona said he'd been in, I said, oh, I wanted to talk to him, and she said, well, I gave him everything in his box, and he's,
And you never,
Gone.
it just wasn't, you didn't see it? Okay. Well, I mean, that kind of, we're kind of, it sets us back again for another 2 weeks. So-
Yeah, because, yeah, you said that the chief had it, and we were assuming that you were working on it.
I would really, I guess, like to know, first of all, since the chief's out of town all day, I assume that puts Jeff in charge of all, that be correct,
Yeah.
during the day of all fires.
If he's here,
Yeah, if Jeff's not around, who's your go-to person?
So it falls by officer.
Okay.
I'm usually around most of the time.
Your
I got my own business, so I
First?
use,
lieutenant?
yes.
Yes.
So you work out of town a fair amount of time.
Sometimes, but I'm close enough to that key, like right now, I just finished one in Rockwood, so that's out of the picture now. And then the rest of them all gonna be either Dexter or Sangerville. And I make pretty much 90% of the calls if I can't handle it.
The answer to the question is the senior firefighter on scene until somebody more knowledgeable shows up, whether that be from Guilford, Dover, Dexter. If a chief from another town happens to show up and we're undermanned, then we can, our senior firefighter can pass over
yeah.
command of the scene.
Go back to mutual aid.
And we also have Joy Worden that's on the department.
Yeah.
He may not be an officer, but he is around all day long, and he has been firefighter for 30-something years.
Pretty near 40.
Yeah, pretty near 40, actually, yeah.
Does he know that he's
Oh, yeah.
what with
Oh,
the
Yes,
yeah.
it is.
Oh,
But you guys all, like, my big question is, I mean, Jerry, you're out of town, that's just the way it is. So if Jeff's not out of town, do you know that?
What's
Or
that?
when Jeff goes away, do you guys know when he's not around? Or do you just rely that Jeff's around and if not
We
Jeff?
talk every day, so yeah, generally I do know, yeah.
Well,
If I go to Bangor, he doesn't know it,
that's what I'm asking.
but
But normally I'm around, but I mean, that seniors, I mean,
But if you guys aren't communicating who's around and who's, that's the concern.
No, I think that's a valid question. I mean, I know as far as physicians, you know, covering practices, I mean, you have to know who's covering your practice. You have to know exactly who's gonna answer that phone call. So my question would be exactly yours. How does that work? Do you do that? I mean,
what's not?
so when the alarm goes off, you show up and you just
If you
evaluate,
were on a volunteer fire
right? Well,
and you happen to go to Bangor, would you have to call somebody, tell them you're going to Bangor?
If I was the only guy
If
left
you
in
were-
command, that's kind of a different
So if you were
scenario.
to pay us full-time,
No, but what
All right.
what we're hearing, Jeff, okay,
What you're
is
hearing
all of our
from who?
officers are pretty well gone during the day, and you're the only one left in town. And they're all relying on you.
well, that's true, but if you can't go to Dover or Dexter or whatever, somebody's gonna have to get paid for it. You've gotta hang around town every day.
But
I
you
think
don't.
on a,
You just have to know who else is on call.
Well, it's the lack of depth,
Well,
that's the
yeah.
problem.
That's the problem.
During the week.
Do
Only
you-
the weekends, the only time people are on call. During the week, there's nobody on call.
And usually we're on call from 6 o'clock Friday night to 6 o'clock Monday morning.
And that's when we're relying on our mutual aid. And don't be fooled by thinking Sangerville's the only way like that, right?
oh, I fully understand
Yeah,
that.
no.
So, I mean, so, if you're talking about a lift assist for Mayo, yeah, we can probably cover that during the day. If you're talking about a full-blown structure fire down in the middle of town, it's gonna take Sangerville, Guilford, Dover,
3 or 4
Dexter.
times.
It's gonna
Fully
take-
agree.
It's gonna take everything.
But that
And
small
Dex-
fire, if everybody's gone during the day, we still have to rely on
All
Guilford
right,
and
well,
Dover.
I'll say it right now, there's been a couple of times, you know, even though there's a tree down across the line and stuff like that, going across somebody's driveway. First thing I did is I pulled up, assessed the situation, and I always called Jerry right off the bat. And he said, I get a hold of Jeff, I get a hold of somebody. And of course, Dover's always asked me, you know, do you need the trucks out there or anything else, you know, or anything like that? At the time, no, I don't. It's in the ditch line that's going across somebody's driveway, I can stop them. I don't need 1 or 2 people. So, you know, and I'm always calling all the time, and I'm always calling here constantly.
You guys must have the mutual aid agreement for the town, for Piscataquis County. That's the whole reason for mutual aid.
No, I would
Everybody
disagree with that, because
Experiences.
I've already been told that is
Short-term.
not the reason for mutual aid.
What is not the reason for mutual aid?
The mutual aid is not to cover towns that are low in numbers that can't meet their call volume.
Well, I disagree with
I
that.
disagree with that also.
Yeah,
During the day, that is,
that's what
I mean, I don't know.
everybody's talking.
I don't know how it's written out, and I've never read the mutual aid policy. But during the day, I can tell you, anywhere pretty much in the state of Maine, I work in Pittsfield, and they deal with it all the time. Burnham, Clinton, all them guys. During the day, it's noted that a structure fire is all of them immediately. If you go to Kenduskeag, Bradford, Current, Corinth, during the day, it's notified.
It's an automatic
Structure
page.
fire, it's automatic, it's everybody.
I would agree with that, a
Because,
major event.
because of low numbers.
Right.
And that's the sole purpose for their reasoning for that.
Marlow, Quebec, Brownville, no matter what they have, no matter what, have agreed that all 3 of them get paged out. All 3,
Correct.
because of low numbers.
But that's
Because
not
people
part of the
like that.
mutual aid, that's what those towns have agreed to.
They can call any one of us and we'll go.
Right, as far as
Guilford,
automatic pay.
Monson,
Yeah.
they
That's
call
what
us,
they
we
would-
go.
We have discussed with Piscataquis Sheriff Department over and over and over to do an automatic page. We put them in and they just don't do it.
Oh, that's interesting. So is that where the problem is? With the sheriff's office? So you're saying the sheriff's office doesn't
I've been
bring
in county meetings and Joe Guyot's our president and heard you guys talk to him, but we've come up with plans over and over and over again and everybody has the same problem. They will not, for some reason, Father concerned, we told them, you work for us, we don't work for you. We set up automatic pages. This is, if we have a tree down, page us. If we have a 1055 rollover and someone's entrapment, you know, we may need Guilford Jaws also, or Dover's, depends on what end of the area we are. You know, this is what everybody's trying to do. Because, same reason, because Chief of Dexter, he works for the state, he's never around during the day. And there's several in that department I know that are not around during the day. And we all talked about it. I'll bring up the chief of Augusta Fire, and he has had classes, and we all had classes called shorthand firefighting, because everybody is experiencing it. Because we have plants and companies closing down, Guilford, Maine is not like it was, and neither is Hardwick Products or Hardwick Products now, you know, medical building, because it's booming, because it's COVID thing. But you don't have the amount of people around this area because of these manufacturing companies closing down, and it's from here to
Right.
East
We don't
Coast.
disagree with any.
Yeah, no,
I mean, we're all saying the same
Right.
exact thing as what you're saying. What we're being brought to us and what Bridie's bringing to us and to you guys is that during the day, all of our experience we have is not here. We're left with low numbers and very low experienced people to handle fire scenes. And that's a concern by many citizens that's coming to us and to her.
And all
We
we
have
want
that
is,
in every town,
all we want is a plan.
every town.
I understand, but
I understand you want a plan, and I would love to throw one out to you right now, but it
Well,
would be
think about it.
fictitious. Right, and then we need to have time to think about it, we need to have
Sure.
time to bring it up.
I mean, we talked about this 2 years ago, and we're in worse shape right now than we was then.
I would say that's, we had.
Way worse shape.
Both the chiefs met with us.
Yeah.
If you got, I would encourage you guys to go on the town's website, May 9th, 2018. Listen to that discussion. It was really productive. And everybody was saying exactly the same thing that you guys are saying right now, except then we had 100% more in terms of enrollment. So our trend is not good.
Right.
If we don't fix this, or at least stabilize it, in another 5 years, are we gonna be sitting here with 3? So that's what this is about. And we're hearing all kinds of rumors, you guys wanna shut down the fire department. We wanna try to save it. But if we're gonna save it, we've gotta change this trend. You can't go from 25 to 10 in 24 months.
Well, I'm trying to recruit a bunch of people, I've been talking to Ricano boys, they're talking about joining, a couple of them, you know.
We've been,
talking to
all of us
people.
been hunting for people.
You know, I've talked to numerous of people, and right now, I said, well, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I said, well, I work all the time too, but I still go.
I mean,
So-
the simple fact is that every single person in that building who responds to a call, responds to it because they care about you and you and you and you.
oh, no
You
question.
know what I mean? So, to find people who can generate
Dedicate
that
themselves.
dedication, it's hard. It really is. To find young guys, you know, you have a 2-year-old girl and you work away and your wife's home all day, guess what? When you come home, she wants you home, not going to the fire department. It's tough. It's not easy. I mean, it's easy to say, hey, let's get numbers. Sure, I can say that.
Yep.
But to find a productive, working person is tough. As a matter of fact, I'm waiting for all 4 of your applications. We'll
I already
review
moved
next
my
month.
floor, thank you.
We'll take it one more. You can have a second tour.
I don't think anybody here thinks, that it's an easy thing to
No.
solve. In fact, I'm not even convinced it's solvable. So, but what we need to do is be prepared for whatever the eventuality is gonna be. If in another 24 months, we're down to 3 people, 4 people, what are we gonna do as a town? What are we gonna do as a community? Cause we're all gonna have to deal with this.
And what are we gonna do right now? Because that's what a lot of the people wanna know. So if you guys are all gone, that's part of this plan. Citizens.
So we talked about mutual aid a little while ago. And I, like I said, I've never read it. I don't know exactly how it's written. But I don't understand why it's out of the realm of possibility to use mutual aid and agreements because of low numbers. I don't know why is it out of the realm of possibility from the time of, let's say, 7 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock at night, no matter what the call is. And we can make that work with the sheriff's department. It's just a matter of making it work. Well, why is that out of the realm of possibilities? And I don't think you'd have to pay another town a bunch of money. I don't know that. I see your face.
The comment that was put to me was that the thought of low numbers with always depending solely on mutual aid to cover all your calls, all your town is doing is switching your tax burden from one town to another.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a tough one because when I get up at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday morning to go fight a fire in Guilford, that's
100%. I agree with you.
And I mean, it all, one hand washes the other and it all comes around. And I agree that whoever said that is probably fairly accurate, but that's one person. just because somebody is the chief of this department, the chief of this department, lieutenant, captain, or just happens to be a seasoned veteran.
Didn't come from a fire department,
But that doesn't count for the whole fire department.
but it didn't come from a fire department.
Well, no, I'm just saying, that doesn't account for
Correct.
the whole town, that doesn't account for, you know what I mean? It's hard to take one person's opinion. I mean, we can play Democrat and Republican until you're blue in the face, but that you're never gonna get the two to agree.
Well, a lot of these people are so concerned, join us. You're that concerned, come right over there, put a uniform on and do what we do. If you're that concerned about keeping our department open.
I mean, I have seen in the papers where other fire departments had said, wanted firefighters, you know, come
I've
see
been
us
thinking
to
about
stay.
doing that, but I don't know if it's the right thing to do.
Here's the thing, we can do that, but I know the type of people, some people, who are gonna get in. If we're allowed to pick and choose and not get in trouble with it, because it is a volunteer fire department, then it may work, because honestly, I don't think, some people don't even think about it. Honestly, you've got to have that passion, you've got to have that desire to work hard, get up in the middle of the night, leave your family.
It's a
make
volunteer
birthday
fire
parties,
department, but
Christmas.
it's still a town paid fire department. It's not
Correct.
truly a
It's
volunteer
being-
department.
It's 24/7, period. That's
I
what it
understand,
is.
but it's still a town paid department. So as far
I
as
get
picking and
that.
choosing, why can't you? It's no different than you applying for any job in any other place. Just because somebody applies to join the fire department, if for whatever reason, doesn't mean they apply, they have to get on. So I don't know why you would think you can't pick and choose.
Well, we can do that. We can advertise it, and we can take the
I
application.
mean, I've had guys come and, oh, I can run a pump. Start talking to him, and he goes, oh yeah, well then why don't you put it on your back? On that pump, he goes, I can run that pump, oh, you guys serious? I'm like, okay. That's probably not what we're looking for.
Well, and even if you get people, there's a 6-month probation period, there's all this training that even if you get somebody to stick, it's gonna be 2-3 years before you have seasoned firefighters. We understand that, we just want,
That's with every department.
it is.
I mean, honestly,
I'm not
nothing
picking on
uncommon.
you, I'm not saying that.
But honestly, and this town has been good to us about letting us firefighters go down to the academy in Waterville and get some good training. Those are Main State Fire, trainers down there, and we get some good training. Go up to Guilford and pull some of theirs. Nobody's ever gone down there. No, they do their training right there. They don't go and get the real training from, we do.
And
And
the
you can
truth
go
is-
to a lot of other departments and you find they don't do that either.
In-house training is getting harder and harder to do too, with state mandates and all that. That's a tough
The whole
thing.
thing is getting harder, and that's why we're sitting here
That's why we're all
saying,
sitting here.
okay,
Yeah.
what are we gonna do? Cause this,
What are we doing? That's what we need, is a plan. What are we gonna do during the day? So we know that everybody's all set.
so if you wanna make that mutual aid for a structure
Full-time
fire
firefighters.
for, X, Y, and Z, there's a plan. Your mutual aid agreement says you have to have a roster of 4 people. If you wanna make a roster for day and a roster for night, of 4 people who are willing to do mutual aid. If it says also here, recognize the principle that the officer in charge of the territory where the fire or emergency is located shall be incident commander. If you wanna override that and make an agreement with other towns, I think we're okay with that. We just want a plan.
I don't think that's out of the realm of possibilities. And I don't think it's a bad idea. Put aside everybody's differences and think about the 90-year-old woman living up at the manor all by herself.
Well, that's what everybody's gonna get over, because honestly,
That's
my
right.
house is on fire. I don't really care if you got a Sangerville coat on, or
That's
a
right.
Dover coat,
That's right.
a
Yeah.
Dexter coat,
Yeah.
or a Guilford coat. I
And
want my house.
But I
if
do
your
It does
mother-
not matter.
And if your mother is laying on her floor
Does not
and
matter.
needs first aid attention, it doesn't matter who
Correct.
stops and gives her first aid.
And like your point, as far as you mentioned, a lower, say all you guys gone during the day, and it's a lesser experienced person from Sangerville, if that's gonna be your plan, so that when another town senior person gets on the floor, that's the one that's gonna be incident command, that's great, but that needs to be the plan, because right now, I'm being asked by other towns, who's in charge when we get on a scene, because they're all concerned by that same comment. Because there is nothing out there that says when another town gets on scene, whether it be a chief or whatever, that they are now in charge.
And I don't know as any other town has that either, and if they do, they've never presented it to us.
No, I've been talking to Jeff, the guy,
That's such a
They're-
tough thing
they're-
to say.
they're both all set with what's going on with us. They absolutely don't want us to go anywhere.
See, Jerry, that's part of the problem is you're looking at us in
I'm
one
not.
vision that we want you guys to go away. We do not want you to go away.
You just want plans, so.
We want plans, we wanna know, how do we guarantee the people in our town that they have the coverage that they need?
So, let's just say, in a month's time, we recruit 10 more people, right? That's 10 more new people that are still gonna be green, but we're still gonna be in the same position where that senior
You are.
firefighter. Now, if it comes to the point where, and we can write a plan, and I'm sure all our firefighters will agree to this, because they're pretty smart, that if they're on the scene, they are not an officer, or even if they are an officer, and a higher officer steps on that scene, they have to take over. Period.
That's what we're talking.
That's spelled out in
Well,
mutual
now
aid,
it's-
it's not spelled out in terms of if another town senior officer, that's the issue, because you're gonna be stepping on toes. If you've got somebody from Sangerville and Joe guy out from Dover comes and says, now I'm in charge of the scene, somebody may get upset by
So
that.
there's an actual process in place on a fire scene for doing that. For instance, Jerry's the chief and I'm the first captain.
Right,
If Jerry, something happens, he can, at any point in time, say, Chad, I'm gonna pass over command to you and let them know.
yeah,
And all of a sudden, Chad's got command. And then once Wanda shows up, I can say, hey, you're a chief, I'm passing it back to you. And that gets passed back through radio communications with command and with dispatch.
within a department, that's the way it works. I'm saying,
It's the same
The same
scenario.
anywhere.
If Travis LeBrie, who's an up and coming phenomenal fireman, but he still has a lot of training left to do, but he's there.
Yeah.
And he's a second lieutenant right now. And if Jeff Libby, actually, I'll take it one step further. Travis is a lieutenant. If Peter Drummond, which,
you can't.
if he's from Guilford on mutual aid,
You can't because he can't be employed by the town and you've got to be careful on that specific.
okay,
He's a firefighter.
I'm gonna use his name and forget about the other stuff.
Okay,
If Peter Drummond shows up, who is probably one of the best firefighters I've ever met, and Travis knows that, he can pass command on to an experienced senior fireman who's,
Yeah, an experienced senior. It doesn't have to be
And
an
he
officer.
knows.
It can be a senior experienced.
if a
firefighter.
captain from Guilford happens to show up, and Travis has 5 more years than he does, and Travis is very confident that he knows more than that captain, there's no reason that as a first lieutenant, he should have to pass it just because he's a captain of another town.
no.
That's where the,
I
that,
don't
the
want him to
fine-
be
That's where you gotta tune that.
That's
Yeah,
right,
you
exactly.
gotta-
That's what I'm saying, it's not about a
I
title.
want him to be
That's right.
in charge of a structure fire that he doesn't feel that he's trained well enough to deal with, or one that he does feel he's well enough to deal with it, but then makes the wrong call and sends somebody into that building.
Anybody can make a wrong call.
Anybody can make a wrong call. I'm
Absolutely.
saying you're increasing your
Absolutely.
chances of a wrong call if you're not experienced. I don't wanna put him in that position, and I don't want him,
To have to be in, I understand that.
yeah.
I mean, we all got common sense. I mean, honestly. You know, we have a 1055 rollover, we got somebody trapped in a vehicle. I know I keep on bringing that up, but we call Guilford for their jaws.
Right.
We're working, trying to get this person out. When Guilford shows up with their extrication tools, we step by the way, we let them go for it.
And
We
we
don't
did
say,
that.
oh, give me a tool, this
We
is my
did the
thing,
same
and I'm
thing with
gonna.
We
Dover.
did that last year with Dover,
Yeah.
1055, on Dowdy Hill, Sangerville's call. The guys got there and realized, whoa, this is bad.
Yeah.
Called Dover, Dover showed up, our guys stepped back, because it's their tools, their experience, their equipment, pulled her up, and the girl is still alive today because they made that call. Not because, they could have made the opposite call. They could have said, well, wait a minute, the town sign's right there, this is Sangerville, we're doing it.
Yeah.
And the girl could have been deceased right now.
I'm just saying, think about these
Sure,
situations.
it's just hard to write a procedure.
I
But you guys are the only ones that can police that. You'll know if you have a
Yeah.
person who's apt to be the one who says, I don't wanna give up control here, or maybe that, and hopefully we don't have anybody like that. But you're the only ones that are gonna know it.
And right now, I can say with confidence that we don't have anybody like that.
That's,
We have probably the most humble department that we've had in the 20 years that I've been around.
And honestly-
If I'm in town by myself, Jeff and everybody's gone, and I'm here and I don't got a handful of men, I'm calling mutual aid. The minute they show up, the next guy's gonna take over me, because I don't feel confident. It depends upon the situation. You know, I'm confident enough to go to a structure fire and run it. You know, because I've been on over 25 years ago, and then I just got back on, so.
sure. So what about, and you guys would know if some of this is even workable, but what about a protocol that said, if one of these people is not present, this automatically gets turned over, or somebody gets called, or in other words, a procedure.
Yeah, which is great, and we can definitely come up with that, it's just, it's so hard to put something in writing and say, this is what we're gonna follow every single time.
Every scene is different.
Because
It is.
tomorrow's gonna be different, the day after's
There's
gonna
a
be
little
different.
thin fine line between all that, something can really turn quick, you know, and then.
You guys, seriously,
Well, we can come up with
this
some-
isn't just us, I mean, we have other departments asking for this as well. Because you gotta think about it the other way, okay? Think about it like you guys had a full crew, and you're gonna go to a town with a pretty good potential, that you're gonna show up on a scene with quite a few inexperienced people. And all of your guys are gonna be, you're liable for your guys when you roll into that town.
If you got area departments around here that are saying that all their guys are experienced, they are lying.
That is
right
not
through
what I
your
just
teeth.
said.
That's simple as that.
That's not what I said.
I get what you're saying, I get it, I understand, you're talking about a pro league team versus a minor league team.
When you got, honestly, let's face it, when this group of people right here is not available, we go from a pro league team to a minor league team right now.
Yeah, and that is a simple fact.
And that's what we need, is to try to figure out, when our pro league team isn't available anymore, and all we have is the minor, what do we do to ensure
What's
not
our
only the
best plan?
safety of the people at the scene that you're at, but those guys' safety, and the safety of the people that you're gonna call in to help.
That goes right back to, okay, it's time to call up people from the bench, and we got pro leaguers, Hall of Famers on the bench in the next town over, so bring them,
Correct.
let's have them right now.
So maybe that's,
Put it into writing.
correct.
Okay. I mean, it's that simple.
That's a plan. And that's kind of what I think everybody's looking for.
I have a question about Joey Warden. Is he just doesn't want to, I mean, he's in town, correct?
He was assistant chief years ago, and he don't want nothing to do with
He just-
officers. He's all done, he just wants to be a grunt.
Right, but, so he doesn't want to be in command?
He will if he had
But
to.
he will if he has.
He will,
Right, yes, absolutely.
I've been on situations where he's,
because he's got a lot of
because
experience,
he controls his own.
right? And he's in town. I get it, he just doesn't want to take that level of responsibility just in general, like he doesn't want to be sitting here tonight.
He don't want the
You know
title,
what I
There you
mean?
go, yeah.
he doesn't want the title.
Right, but in your mind, do you think, oh, well, we always had Joey, I mean, he doesn't go into the buildings, right? But he can,
No, but he can stand outside and do his
and
thing.
tell
What's gonna
everybody what to
happen?
do. So,
He can drive up to a fire scene and say, yep, okay, I need to do this, 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 this,
yeah,
and
yeah,
this.
yeah.
I mean, or any scene, it doesn't
Right.
have to be a fire, but, and we have brought that up in our meetings over and over and over again to all our fellow firefighters, that just because an officer's not on scene, doesn't mean Joey Warden is not in charge. He's a,
Senior firefighter.
Right.
he's
That's what it boils down
experienced,
to.
Right,
listen to what he says.
right. Well, I mean, I've learned a lot. I mean, I reached out to Joe Bayat, as you all know. because I know Joe Guyot, I've known him a long time, and only just to learn about what does mutual aid from Dover mean to us in Sangerville? As a selectman, I wanna know.
What was his answer to that question?
He said that one of his biggest complaints was that they don't get ringed out early enough.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. He said if we could just get called sooner, we'd have a more cohesive group from the beginning. But he said that, and then I asked him, if we have people with 2 years or less at the scene, will you guys step in? I mean, I didn't know how the hierarchy works, like, oh no, this is our turf, you know, and he said, absolutely. He said, if somebody asks us, our Dover, to step in, we will immediately take over. And so that to me was reassuring. You know, so I reached out to him just to find out exactly how that works. So,
So I think as far as coming up with a plan, that's what you gotta do. You gotta get Dover and Guilford and Dexter. If it means keeping us alive and not shutting us down, which is everybody's biggest fear, right? I mean, we're not gonna hide that. Everybody knows that. That's our biggest fear. Everybody in this room. You know, I have a lot of years. Jeff has a million years. Jerry and Wanda, you know, nobody wants to see them doors get shut. Plain and simple.
right.
So tell us what we gotta do to save it, and we'll make whatever we gotta do, we'll make it work.
And with Joe making the comment of being called sooner, that's where the automatic pages come in.
Well, and that's-
Automatic page.
Yeah, and that's what I didn't know. Who calls, like, does you know, Travis, if he's man up, does he have to get on the phone and call Dover and say, come on and come and help? That's not the way it works. No.
Does now.
Yeah, well, that's exactly, I mean, that just, you know, that doesn't make sense.
Dover doesn't have automatic page anybody.
Right.
That's what we were saying, and that's what we've been fighting in the county. is
So there are more
for the staff to
county-
Be on board and do what we ask.
If they could
Yeah.
just at least go to their station and be ready,
Right,
and if we need them, we'll go.
sure.
But
You know,
that's the
So, I mean,
whole point with getting paged,
yeah, so
all of us.
let's go back to what you say. We have a structure fire.
Right.
Okay? And, well, let's say possible structure fire. That's how it comes in. You have a possible structure fire. Somebody thinks there might be fire in the wall, okay? We're not gonna call anybody in Dodge County for that. We
Right.
call the SCAC, would say, please put Guilford Fire on standby at their station, because then they're ready. We get out there, we find out it's nothing, we take care of it, it's fine. We let Guilford go. If we get out there and we think it's more, we're gonna call the SCAC and say,
Get them out there.
get Guilford out there.
Yeah, so it's clunky.
That's
It's
how it is.
clunky.
Well, for
Instead of-
example, out on the French's Mill Road, it started off as a chimney fire. We showed up seeing it, ended up being a structure fire. We had Dexter, Dover, Guilford, and
And
Monson.
they were on the way as soon as Page came in, I called them all.
Yeah.
They were on the way then.
If we know we got any kind of structure, we automatically.
And we save that
want
house.
to take, get these guys rolling.
So what if it's middle of the day, everybody's working, and we've got that scenario that we're all afraid of. We've got 2 or 3 inexperienced people, they go to the site, and now they find out it's a serious, now, this whole thing has been delayed now by 10 or 15 minutes, because we had to get there to decide if we needed to call for help. Whereas if we had just, it's middle of the day, work week, should we be toning immediately?
7 to 5. I mean, is that an irrelevant or impossible task to come up with and work with the county to make happen?
Right, the county needs
I
to
know we
let us
are.
say, if there's a structure fire in Sangerville from 7 to 5, you automatically page Guilford Fire.
I agree with you.
Or
Right,
if it's on that
absolutely.
end, you
But that's,
automatically
and that's
page
fine, and I
Dexter.
agree with that, but before you just say it's a county issue, they need to do that. That's where you guys need to develop a plan. That's what your plan needs to be. You need to bring it to us. Review it, it needs to go to Bridie. Bridie needs to take that to Guilford. And Guilford has to agree to that. Because what you're talking about is not part of a set mutual aid agreement. Okay? And that's part of the issue right now, is we don't have any physical plan written out, and to just say we don't have low numbers, that's what mutual aid's for. That's where we have a roadblock.
Well, I've talked.
Because that's not what that's-
Don't be afraid to bring them as soon as possible.
I get what you're saying. There has to be a plan written in place to do it.
Correct.
It makes sense, because
But then.
if you started calling them for every single power line down, tree
Yeah,
in the road, then there's gonna be compensation paid to them.
Yeah.
But,
So I present that you give us time to sit down, all of us, and discuss it, and then come up with something.
That was the whole purpose of what Bridie put
We're
in Jerry's
having-
box. a
we're
couple
having
weeks
another
ago.
meeting September 30th. Is that enough time to start?
I think so. Yeah.
Because you've got a mutual aid agreement, but we're talking about a further level of agreements, and I think most departments are gonna be willing to look at that, because they've
I mean, they're all
they've got some
Well,
of the
let's
same
flush them out.
issues.
Let's
Yeah.
flush them out. Let's see what
Well,
they're really
you know-
willing to do.
Yeah,
Because honestly, and I'll be right on the record about saying this. We all know the fire departments are a brotherhood, okay? When you guys talk to your other fire departments, you're all a brotherhood. That's not the same conversation when it starts talking brass tacks and dollars and cents. That gets translated back up the chain of commands to other town managers, to other selectmen, which all ends up coming back around through her or through us or whatever. So, as far as a Dover Fire wanting to help out Sangerville anytime they will, of course they do. Same as a Guilford, the same as a Dexter, there's no doubt about that. But, as far as to say, that's the norm, with no plan and no agreement, other than our mutual aid agreement, that's not what those towns are gonna expect. Because all your mutual aid agreement is for, really, is for that structure fire, that major event, that for what you are supposed to have for equipment, you don't have enough, you need more support. Whether it's a 1055 for the jaws, or no different for you guys with your air stuff. I mean, nobody else has that. When there's a structure fire, you guys are rolling because they all want your tanks.
That's true.
You know what I mean? That's really what mutual aid is for.
And we
And
also
that's not
have,
what where we're at to what we're expecting out of some of these towns.
if we ever had two events at the same time, particularly during the week, there's no way we could answer both calls. If we're on the French's Mills Road for a possible structure fire on a Wednesday afternoon and a car rolls over on 23, we're definitely gonna need help.
We did have two events when the Trevor Inn,
Yep.
right? We were up there with all our equipment and we had to leave for a car fire in
Right.
Sango.
Yeah,
We
because there's
hooked
nowhere
in,
else to go, right?
We unhooked and we took a crew and we came down here,
And then
because they had plenty up there.
And then that same week, they had us come up with that one up by Calvani over there, that camp that burned.
Right, well, we had a fire starter around here and that was not good.
Yeah, that was
Every Saturday morning, 3 AM.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yep.
Jeez.
But
I think we've made some really good progress.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you guys showing up and,
I'm sure we can come up with something, we come up with a plan.
I have a question about Article 5, if we got.
yeah, sure. One, two, yes.
On A, so right now, is that gonna change from the way we normally do it? Because as it is right now, we vote on our fire
Oh,
chief every.
They're on, you're
Oh,
talking
you're
about
on
the ordinance.
I'm sorry, yeah, the ordinance, I'm sorry.
It's just a draft.
I don't have that. What's that say? Jack?
What does it
So
say?
it says, like, the appointment, the fire chief of Sangerville Fire Department shall be appointed by the town manager for a 1-year term.
Oh.
So honestly, the change in that, the only change in that is it went from the selectman to the town manager.
Okay, so it's still the same setup?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
In the past, the selectman has always done that. So the reason why we come up with that change is because that's supposed to be our HR person, as far as anything to do with that. So it doesn't really make sense for us to appoint somebody if she's supposed to deal with that. So by moving that to her, it kinda makes that all along.
So nothing really changes?
No,
No.
No, it's just legally somebody has to,
I understand, I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure, I just wanted to clear that up.
municipal employees are really thorny. There's a lot of rules, and all of you are municipal employees, and so it's really important that everything run through the town manager. She keeps the town out of trouble. That's the plan, so.
And there's another thing too, we get these phones and we get toned out, it goes right through our phone. And we can go through and see who's responding and who ain't, right
And we do,
automatically. So if I see that probably 5 people ain't gonna show up, and I got a couple of real bad rookies coming, I'm gonna automatically get a hold of dispatch, say, hey, I'm gonna do this other town coming in now. You know, 'cause they come right across the phone. Exactly.
Information like that's really helpful.
Yeah,
And
that
so
for
that's
us
really
to
good to
know.
go back to what Chad was talking
Yeah.
about, make that part of the plan.
Well,
Yeah.
I have actually done that. I have called from work, from Bangor, Hammond Lumber, and say, this is what you need to do. Because you can see that, and it's
Right.
probably one of the best systems that we had, because not even just looking on our phones, we can run into that fire department right now, you know, call us off and see who's coming,
Yeah.
you know, who we got
And
coming.
everything. Who's responding, if they're gonna be delayed or unavailable.
And it comes through your regular cell phone, or do you have special phones? Oh, regular, so it's an app.
Yeah,
And so you can see everybody who's,
it's not free.
uh-huh.
Nothing is.
See, like right now,
And there's-
testing went off, and you see who responded to the testing.
Aha, aha, look at that, it's got all,
Everything's an app, Jody. It doesn't matter what you can think of, there's an app.
but that's great, so you really have a map or a landscape of, so you know who's gonna be there when you show up. It's not like you're driving there and saying, I wonder who's gonna be
Well,
meeting in the driveway.
I'm sitting at 8:50 waiting, you know, a rescue, 8:20's already gone, I'm sitting there watching the screen. And I said, all right, I got 3 or 4 people with me, I'm gonna roll now.
Okay.
Let them out, bring them over here.
Okay, so that's all good information for us. But that's,
Yeah, the Wi-Fi, it works off Wi-Fi, that's a little iffy over there, but that's in and out all the time, I don't know why, but.
Travis, did you go through that training we had last one too?
One of our biggest things right now is they have a couple of our radios, you can't hear them that time.
We sent 7?
So, I mean,
The county,
if.
Yeah, that's a tower issue,
towers
right?
are screwed.
Yeah, if nobody get called out something, we get static at the time, we can't even make them out, we don't know if we're gonna get called or not. And that's the biggest issue right now we're having, is the radios, the pages.
I'd like to just bring up that we do have a lot of new firefighters. The last winter, we put through 7 firefighters through a very rigorous training program that took 4 months by Main State instructors, and they got some good training.
and do you still have them today, all those
Yeah.
7? That's good. That's good.
This is a start.
Right. I just have a quick question, and I don't wanna keep going. I know that today is the anniversary of the Farmington explosion. And I heard on the news this morning that the town, Farmington, was fined $22,000 because firefighters went in that weren't certified or weren't trained or didn't have the proper certification to go into what was happening. Are we at risk? I mean, this is our job, you know, to make sure that we keep the town out of trouble. You're keeping us all safe. We're keeping us, making sure we're not getting sued and all those sort of types of things, and our town managers. But as far as that's concerned, you know, is there a situation that we can't go to right now? That Sangerville cannot go to, because you don't have the training? And, I mean, it's.
There's hazmat stuff out there that you go, but you keep public away.
Okay.
You stay your distance. If you don't go near it, you don't touch it. I mean, there's all kinds of that stuff around here. That's one thing.
You know, we just wanna make sure, one, that all of you stay safe, physically safe, and.
Well, we're not gonna take somebody that's not SCBA certified interior firefighter and let them go in, if
Right.
that's what you're saying. That won't happen.
Those guys-
If they did, I'd tell them they're done.
Right.
Those guys over there got fined because they weren't wearing they didn't have their airbags on and,
They didn't have the proper PPE with
yeah, they
them.
had it, but they
Okay.
didn't have it on.
Right.
Okay.
They weren't on, it was hanging off them.
Right now,
Plus, they had the janitor lead them on the way in.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem now with the fire department, has been for the last several years, especially right here, that's the problem. everybody in the Brothers got a camera, and everybody takes a picture and instantly puts it on Facebook. And
I
that's
see.
when you get all these pictures of, it
Of
nails you
things.
for no PPE or,
I see.
you
Yeah,
know.
that's how Herman Fire actually got a big fine.
And they couldn't smell the gas over there, neither.
Right.
That was another thing that.
So they really didn't know if they had.
Farmington was a classic case of complacency. And if you're asking for anybody to not get complacent, you're asking the impossible.
Yeah.
We get calls all the time to gas, I smell gas, I smell gas.
Yeah.
You have 2 o'clock in the morning, you wanna go in there, open that window, say, look, it's all right, go back to bed, we're leaving. And that's essentially what they were doing, with no idea that they were walking into a bar. And one of my very good friends is Ted Baxter, who's still alive, and he's actually coming back to work next week to talk to all of us, was in that explosion.
Wow.
And he'll tell you the same exact thing. We got complacent and we made a mistake. Anytime there's a mass anytime there's a mass accident, you know, I work with Jimbo. We just crushed a guy over in Panton. That's a major ordeal. And once you go back and start looking at everything, you can say, oh, well, you screwed up this, and this. But if you never got crushed, you'd never know that.
Right,
that-
yeah.
Same situation.
Yeah, and that's it, you don't want a tragedy. But and again, I was just throwing that out there. My husband and I happened to be down in the hospital down in Boston when those were all getting life flooded down that day. And they were saying, it's coming from me, and so it had an impact on me, I was like, whoa. So, anyway,
Had an impact on all of us.
oh,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sure,
everybody, yeah.
I'm sure, I'm
That's
sure.
pretty scary.
Yeah, and that's the bottom line, we want you guys to be safe and we appreciate, I know I appreciate everything that you all do, so,
Very much.
Yeah.
And we want this to work,
right,
so we're open to
Yep.
suggestion.
yep. And we wanna work with you, so, and this may seem like, oh, we gotta do this, but, I think in the end, it'll make, we then can tell, all the citizens of Sangerville what the plan is, oh no, don't worry, there's a plan and everything is copacetic, so.
I personally feel quite a bit better, actually.
Good, well, that's good.
We sat here 2 years ago and had the same
Until
conversation.
I said you would have.
Please go
We
listen.
didn't try to close you then.
No.
We haven't tried to close you since. We're not planning on closing you now.
So let's fix it.
100%. That's what we tried to help with 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Because at the end of the day, to be honest, if we really wanted to close you, if this makes you feel any better, the only thing really we gotta do is put you on the budget at a warrant article at $25,000. It's that simple. Because you can't run a department at $25,000. And we've never done that, we're not planning on doing that, that's not there. That's not what we're here to do, and that's not what we're trying to help you to get to. But as far as all of the rumors all the time about us trying to close you guys down,
It's not
it's not
productive.
helping. I don't see where it's
Yes.
helping you guys, honestly. Because how do you get members if you're running around telling everybody, well, the selectmen wanna close this? Where's anybody's incentive to join you if you're not gonna be there?
Honestly, if Sangerville ever gets to the place where it has to seriously consider not having a fire department, it should come from the fire department.
right,
I
right,
agree.
It should be the few remaining people left
Saying-
saying, you know what, it's time to do
we
something else.
can't do
Right.
this, yeah,
Right?
I agree with that 100%.
yeah.
Well, let's go to work, that's great,
Yeah.
thanks.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
September 30th, 5 PM.
5 PM.
Hey, this is not to pick, I had
Oh.
a citizen ask me, the flags, particularly the main flag, if we could keep those fresh.
We just
Yeah,
don't
they're-
know.
Did- You did talk about
We
it?
already talked about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
good, excellent, excellent, thank you, thank you very, very much, we
Well,
appreciate
like
You
your
got
time.
them doing.
It is,
Now I'm done with Rockwood, and
For good.
everybody
That's
knew that I
all,
was gonna
yeah,
be gone
shut the
for
door.
30 minutes up there working.
I'll hook up.
Which I did let everybody know that. I
well,
would get
Bridie
back
will
out.
know where to order one, she can,
No, I'm not around.
Just let me know if you're around this weekend.
Yeah, I plan on being around this weekend.
I'll get hold of you.
If they're bad, just
I'll
take
be
them
working
down and then we'll get them
with
replaced,
them,
but,
yeah.
I mean, one of them is
No, I'm
just
not.
hanging
They're
out.
bad,
Yeah.
they're bad.
Yeah, no, that's
And I
fine.
took all the
Yeah,
flags down.
I wasn't going anywhere until
Oh,
you
you got them all
see
in.
him say you want me to.
Good, good.
Yeah, 'cause right now I work
I
on
gotta
another
get the
camper,
cemetery ones.
Yep,
because I don't know what's going on
What?
with the trailer.
I gotta do
I'm
the
trying to
little
get it
ones
off
at the
the farm.
cemetery.
Oh, yeah.
alright, we'll talk this weekend.
All right.
Thank you very
Y'all
much.
have a good night.
You too.
All right, before we leave this, is there anything else, Bridie, that you wanna address or get on the record tonight? I feel like that was really positive, and
Yep, very good.
I think we got everybody's
Felt like I
attention.
was talking to a wall.
Well-
We're talking, we're saying that there's an issue here, and they're saying, well, this is the issue. It's like, yeah.
I think we're better, alright?
Yeah,
I
I
think
think-
Chad really got it.
Yeah.
I think
I
Chad
did.
is really in line, thinking to what we need to do, and I'm hoping he's gonna go back and talk to everybody else and
Right.
try to get it.
Right.
Yep, yep.
I just think they're
I
all
thought
so
Wanda-
instilled.
I thought Wanda got it.
Yeah,
well
yeah,
at the
yeah.
end. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. So well, I think we made some progress.
Yeah,
And, you know, part of it is trusting
right,
us.
100%.
right, and communicating, just
Yep.
communicating.
That's why I wasn't
Just
trying
ask
to,
us.
I mean, we're 2 years into this, we're not trying to close them.
It's not a brand new idea.
No,
So,
All right, well, unfortunately, they didn't get their documents early on, so I don't know if you have, I'm sure that you put it in the box. Do you have email addresses for some of these other officers?
I have Jerry's home.
What about,
email.
Wanda, Chad? Let's see if you can get them.
yeah, yeah.
And let's get documents to officers in real time. And then you're gonna have a receipt, because they're gonna have it.
alright,
Yeah, because sitting in the box at this point, that's,
This is worth
yeah.
doing that way, so, good. Anything else on the fire department?
no, I'm good, I thought that was pretty, that was pretty good.
Yep, I
Yeah.
agree
Hoping we're all on
totally.
the same page now.
Yeah,
Which brings us
Excellent.
all the way down to requests for additional agenda items. None? Selectmen concerns?
no,
Executive session?
no.
None?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor? It's 5 minutes to 7 and we are adjourned.